What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today what we have for you is a video about a legend, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, Kobe Bryant. Today marks the 1 year anniversary of his passing, and we're just going to talk about him today. One of the most inspirational people of all time, a great leader to everybody, especially his teammates. And we're just going to talk a little bit about him, what he's done in his life, and how he got to where he was. So let's get into it. So first off, we're going to start talking about his early life, his childhood. Kobe grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and at the age of 6 moved to Italy for 1 year because his father, Joe Bryant, was a professional basketball player in the NBA, and then after he retired from the NBA, he went to go play in Italy, so Kobe had to move with them to Italy at the age of 6, and he learned to speak fluent Italian there. His father ended up ending his basketball playing career after a year of playing in Italy and moved back to Philadelphia. And that's where Kobe started. He started working for basketball, and from day one was always the hardest worker around. From 7 years old, he was working every single day, would be outside in the backyard practicing basketball for hours at a time. And he wouldn't stop from 7 years old. And that kind of continued throughout his whole life. He says that his parents were his biggest inspiration. His mother, Pamela Bryant, and his father, Joe Bryant, would push him so hard every day, and it paid off, and we all know where he got NBA Hall of Famer and all of that. We're going to talk about his achievements later. But when he got to high school, Kobe went to Lower Merion High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and he shattered about every single record they had there. He didn't make the team his freshman year. He didn't make the varsity team. He was on the JV team. And from his sophomore to senior year, he completely shattered every Pennsylvania high school record that there is. Points in a career, points in a game, points in a playoff game. He won a championship. He got a bunch of assists, was one of the greatest defenders that they've ever seen in high school. And he was recruited by every single college there was in the nation. All the top colleges like North Carolina, Duke, all of those wanted him. Every single college did. But Kobe decided to go out of high school to the NBA draft. And before we talk about the draft, let's just talk about what he would do in high school. I heard a story of one time he and his teammate made plans to work out at 5 a.m. in the morning just to get up and practice. And so when the other dude got there, it was 5 a.m. just like they scheduled, and Kobe was already in the gym in a full sweat. He went up to him and said, "What are you doing, Kobe?" And he said, "I'm working." He's like, and then the other dude said, "I thought we planned for 5 o'clock." He's like, "Yeah, we did, but I decided to get here at 3 and start working from there." Kobe that day worked from 3 to 12 o'clock. 9 hours straight of non-stop just working out, practicing basketball. Imagine. And this was a daily routine for Kobe. Every day he would normally get up at around 3, 4 to 5 a.m., sometimes 3 to 6 a.m., every single day, and would work out for hours. And this was in high school. 15, 16 years old would do this. The hardest worker without a doubt in sports history. Nobody even comes close, and you cannot debate that. And that's one of the things that got him to where he ended up being. So now let's talk about the obstacles that he had to go through to get to where he was. So some of the obstacles that he had to go through was early in his high school career, freshman year, he was very undersized. He was 5'11", actually 5'10". 5'10" he was in his freshman year. Most of the kids that were playing varsity basketball were around 6 foot or taller. So he was undersized. But he grew. He grew to 6'4" by his sophomore year and ended up being 6'6". What he did in his freshman year to overcome his height, obviously it ended up not being a factor after, but for his freshman year, what he did, he practiced floaters every single day. And that was his go-to move. A lot of people like to call them giant killers. If you have a floater and floaters like go super high, and so the big men cannot block it. That was Kobe alone with floaters averaged 13 points per game. 13 points per game. That is a crazy stat alone from floaters. That's just another example of how hard he worked. He had to find a new move, wasn't able to drive into the paint, so he worked so hard and did that. So now on to his NBA career, the obstacles that he had to go through. He had 22 different injuries in his career that kept him out of a game. A couple were severe, like an Achilles tear, an ACL tear, partial tear, but still kept him out for pretty much the whole season. And what he did to come back for that was just worked even harder. He would not stop working. His teammates couldn't keep up with him 4 months after the Achilles tear. He worked so hard that to come back, he was still better than his NBA teammates. Some were all-stars 4 months after an Achilles tear. That just shows how special the guy is. And he had a drive to be great like no other. So Kobe, let's talk about his achievements a little bit now. He was drafted 13th overall to the Charlotte Hornets and traded on draft night to the Los Angeles Lakers, where he ended up playing his entire 20-year career. And Kobe was a 17-time All-Star, 17 years in a row an All-Star. He was a 1-time MVP. Should have been way more. He deserved it over a lot of guys that got it over him. I feel like he got ripped off. So anyways, he was a 4-time All-Star Game MVP, 2-time Finals MVP, 5-time NBA champion, dropped 81 points in one game versus the Toronto Raptors. 81 points, the second most ever behind Wilt Chamberlain's 100. Kobe did so many amazing things in his NBA career. He overcame so many obstacles and accomplished so much. But his biggest accomplishment of all is he is an NBA Hall of Famer and an undoubted top 5 player of all time in the NBA. I don't care what anybody says, Kobe Bryant makes a case for the GOAT. MJ is probably number 1, but Kobe Bryant is right there with him. So, those are his achievements, and let's talk a little bit now about his later life. What Kobe would do in his later life, he wrote a book called Mamba mentality. Um, he, the Mamba mentality, what it is to work harder than everyone else. There's no excuse to not work hard for someone to work harder than you, and never let anybody be better than you. You just to be the best, and Kobe carried that through not only through his basketball playing career, but just in life. He not only in basketball was he a hard worker, but off the court too. He would do anything it took to be the man, just be the best. And so what he did in his later life, I said he wrote the Mamba Mentality book. He also made a short film called Dear Basketball, and he won an Oscar award for it, for his short film Dear Basketball. Very good film, very good story to it, and that just, even after his playing career, he was just working off the court to do other stuff, writing a book, making a short film movie. It's crazy. Kobe was just awesome. Let's talk about his family a little bit. Rest in peace to, of course, him and his daughter Gianna Bryant. No doubt was gonna be one of the next WNBA stars, and she was too young. 13 years old, she was a star in the making, just like her father. Rest in peace to her. She's Kobe's daughter. Kobe has 4 daughters. And his wife, Vanessa Bryant. I'll put pictures up here. And Kobe was a family man. He loved his family. He would always go to basketball games with Gianna, and would always make time every single day to do something with his family. He has an 18-year-old daughter and 2 little daughters. I think a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And those it's just so sad that his family had to go through losing for Vanessa, her husband, and her daughter. And so this is the time where we just talk about some quotes that Kobe had. Kobe Bryant, of course, like we said, was one of the hardest workers of all time. And secondly, he had some very inspiring quotes. He would make just quotes that like made people think why they aren't doing enough. Here's one right here. Kobe said, "I can't relate to lazy people. We don't speak the same language. I don't understand you. I don't want to understand you." Like we said, this whole video, Kobe is the hardest worker of all time. And yeah, that's some more quotes. It's the one thing you can control. You are responsible for how people remember you, or don't. So what he's basically saying here, the thing that you can control is how hard you work. You can control how people remember you. If you work hard, people will remember you as something. If you don't work hard, nobody will know your name. Just think about that for a second. And one last quote. Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. So he's talking every obstacle that there is to face, everything negative that the world is bringing to him that tell him you can't make it, you're not going to do it. It just gives him more reason to rise above and be great. So that's some quotes. And last thing is, why was he a great leader? Why was he so inspirational and just inspired so many people in his life? So, one thing is, of course, the hard work. We've talked about that. That's probably the one thing that inspires people most. But two, he was a great man. He would do charity more than anybody. He would give back to the people that supported him. He would make sure that every day he was giving back to them, and he was an amazing man. Another thing, he was the leader of that basketball team for 5 championships. 5 championships he led them to. He inspired his teammates every day. Shaquille O'Neal said that Kobe was as good of a leader as they come, the greatest of all time for a leader. And he just he would make his teammates better. He would inspire them to get up early and work. He would inspire them to get off the couch and just shoot the basketball. He would inspire them to be better. He would challenge them to beat him. And just doing that made his teammates better. He led them. He made them a better basketball player. Some traits that he had was hard work, kindness to his teammates. He's kind of a trash talker a lot of times to other people. Kind of motivated him being a trash talker. But like kindness to his teammates, of course, and to anybody else that's not in his team, he wasn't too kind to. Let's be honest here. But like the people that don't have much, he was so kind to, and his teammates, of course. He was inspiring, and yeah, those are some things that made him a great leader. So that's gonna be it for the video. Rest in peace to the Mamba, Kobe Bryant, and the young Mamba, Gianna Bryant. Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, achieved so much in his life, and truly one of the greatest leaders there's ever been. Alright, that's it for the video. Peace.